Hey everyone, Geophysicist Stefan Burns here. Guys, this is crazy. We have just had a huge amount of solar activity, massive explosions on the far side of the sun just in the past couple of days. And this is speaking to an incredible energetic activation that is coming in over the next 2 weeks. And really in 7 days, you may notice a sudden activation of genius energy within you. Now, there's a couple reasons why what's happening right now and will continue to occur for the next 2 weeks is so remarkable. First and foremost, just the science, the solar activity. We've had this huge sunspot group suddenly form on the far side of the sun, and just after Mercury performed its superior conjunction, so a perfect Mercury-Sun-Earth alignment, this is a Mercury cazimi, we had 4 X-class flares from the sunspot right in line with the planet. We had 13 M-class flares, and it's still growing. We could very well, in 2 weeks' time for the full moon, mind you, have some intense solar activity, space weather, and big geomagnetic storming here on our planet. Should this sunspot continue to maintain its strength, grow perhaps even further, it could even diminish a little bit and still really blast us. It just needs to survive the next 2 weeks, and well, that's very, very possible. It's probably the most likely outcome. So we have that coming in. This sunspot will rotate onto the eastern limb of the sun, the left side of the sun as we see it, in just about 1 week with the quarter moon. We just had a new moon. So happy new moon, everybody. This is speaking to the beginning of a new cycle. And because this sunspot will be Earth-centered direct with the full moon, this is speaking to some sort of climax moment. And the fact that this is in alignment with this Mercury cazimi, and in fact, it was a Ceres Mercury-Sun-Earth alignment with the new moon too. This is speaking to a much bigger, broader, more powerful energetic activation. So in today's video, we are going to discuss what's been happening, perhaps in your subconscious mind, how that is now coming to the forefront of your conscious mind, how this may trigger a genius activation within you, or just in general, a self-actualized creative burst could come upon you within the next 2 weeks, and how this is also going to affect us globally, collectively, in terms of our energy due to the solar activity, the geomagnetic storming, and more. Because if that does occur around the full moon is already a heightened energetic moment activating this time period, then we could see that get further catalyzed by this intense solar and cosmic energy. Okay, so we're going to begin with the planetary alignment that we just had. In fact, there's many different blocks to this story, so I'm going to explain them one at a time and then bring them together to construct this potential for you. There's some speculation here, of course, but there's a lot of data, facts, science, mysticism, and more. Take what resonates, leave the rest. Here we have our solar system right now, the 17th of May, as I film this. Let me go back in time, though, and you will see this beautiful Earth, Sun, Mercury, Ceres alignment. What is Ceres? Ceres is the dwarf planet in the asteroid belt that makes up the majority of its mass. It's about 1,000 kilometers in diameter. Mercury is a much bigger planet. It's an official planet, but Ceres is gravitationally rounded, and it's quite important. It represents this in-between orbital energy between Mars and Jupiter. So Mars, 1.8 years or so to orbit around the sun. Jupiter, about 12 years. Ceres is 4.6 years or so. So it's an important time cycle. Think these 5-year cycles in your life. Very, very important. It's archetypal energies connected to the Earth. It's connected to creativity. It's also connected to grief and loss and more. We'll talk about it in depth. That's one of these other modules. But you'll see just right off the get-go, we had this Mercury cazimi. The superior conjunctions, they occur quite frequently because Mercury orbits around the sun so fast. And because Mercury is so close to the sun with this high orbital velocity, it has this ability to trigger solar activity. We were looking at this critical time window, we call it a critical convergence time window, of May 13th to the 15th. We had big earthquake activity. We had this Mercury cazimi, of course, being one of these key activators. And we've had now this big solar activity on the far side, 4 X flares, 13 M flares, blast off directly towards the messenger planet. So clearly it was just activated. It was activating the sun, and that solar flux likely pushed out because there was that magnetic field of Mercury and the proximity of Mercury and Birkeland currents connecting the two, and just overall kind of supercharging that solar electric circuit. That's very possible. We don't see intense solar activity every superior conjunction of Mercury, but it's a pretty regular thing, like almost every time. We saw that this time, blasted off to Mercury. Now Mercury's been activated and Mercury will continue on its way. Now, if we go to the 22nd of May, you see that in fact, this is when we have our Uranus cazimi. So this is a superior conjunction of Uranus with the sun. This occurs once every year. And this is interesting because Uranus is considered a genius Promethean archetypal energy. Mercury is considered a very intellectual and mentally stimulating energy related to communication and studying and many other things. It's very a day-to-day energy. And Ceres here being part of this equation the whole way through. If you go forward to the full moon on the 31st, you'll see that Ceres, having participated in that superior conjunction with Mercury, it's now in this Earth-Ceres-Uranus alignment with the moon on the far side of the Earth. So it's a moon, Earth, Ceres, Uranus alignment. All of this occurring on the Pleiades. So you have this really powerful star cluster. It's actually the biggest interstellar star cluster near us, about 444 light years away. And there is just overall motions of interstellar space, like the stars in interstellar space kind of moving and flowing around the Pleiades. And it's one of these star clusters that has a rich cultural history here on Earth for not just tens of thousands of years, but like hundreds of thousands of years. So it has deep, deep spiritual connection with the human collective spirit, consciousness, psyche, collective, whatever you want to call it, okay? So this is the planetary energy that we've been in. We had this Mercury cazimi on the 14th and on the 15th, and right on the 15th is when all these X-class flares and M-class flares started in alignment with Mercury and with the new moon on the 16th, indicating a new start, a new beginning, and that sunspot will be rotating and will be facing Earth exactly with the full moon, showing a synchronization with the lunar cycle, which is very important as it relates to manifesting potentials here on Earth, because the moon is a very important component of that equation. And all this intense energetic activity that was occurring on the far side of the sun was also matched and mirrored by energetic volatility here on Earth, because during this time frame of the 15th of May, right in the middle of the month, right around the cazimi, the new moon, during the critical convergence window, we had a moderate geomagnetic storm. So we see that we had this high-speed stream come in. We had a 6.7 earthquake strike Japan. It's definitely the biggest earthquake that we've had in the past month. We've had fairly low activity. We had some other earthquakes pop off at 6.2, at 6.0. So a clear cluster of seismicity. And this is when Earth's magnetic field, the geomagnetic storm, this is when Earth's magnetic field is undergoing these big swings in strength and across the globe, and there's just a lot of variation. Our heart field connects to this. So your actual dominant energy field of your body generated by your heart connects very strongly to Earth's magnetic field. There is a tremendous amount of research here. So we had also this initial energetic activation occur here on Earth for anyone that was touched into it, tapped into it, aware. You maybe felt this stronger. Even if it wasn't conscious, it's still working with you subconsciously. And by bringing it into conscious awareness, which is what I'm hoping to do with this video, that can then activate this and get it going. Because starting in just about 6 to 7 days with the quarter moon, the waxing quarter moon, these energies are going to start to perhaps activate within you. And I really think they are genius energies, because we are seeing this resonance with Mercury, which represents the intellectual mind, and Uranus, which represents this higher genius mind. So you have an octave relationship between them, a lower octave, a higher octave. So there's this harmony, this natural harmony between them. And we also, during this time frame of the past couple of days, saw a pretty significant explosion on the sun. So here we see this sunspot, which has been quite busy. We see this coronal hole that gave us that G2 geomagnetic storm, but you'll see this big shock wave go out right here around the middle of the video. There it is. If we want to look at it in a different way, we can see that blast wave here with our Halo CME model. So this isn't going to impact us that strongly. We are expecting some enhanced solar wind around the 20th or so of May, maybe the 19th to 20th, but most of it's going north of the Earth. So that is something important to keep in mind, but it's not going to be the biggest solar storm impact should it hit us, in a significant way. Probably just looking at G1 maximum, G2 conditions. I mean, who knows, but it's not really looking crazy, but it's adding more energy in regardless than we would have had otherwise. So we had that occur as well, but now we have this sunspot rotating through. And let's talk a little bit more about the archetypal energies of the planets and how I see them blending together, because this is really where we get a really good understanding of how this may impact you and the collective as a whole. So here we have our sun, the far side view. This is that crazy sunspot I talked about. Now, what does the sun represent archetypally? The sun represents consciousness. It's 99.86% of the mass of the solar system. Without the light and radiance of the sun, life wouldn't be fun here. We probably wouldn't be here. So the sun is this agent of light and consciousness and awareness. And as I see it, when you have big activity on the far side of the sun, this is very similar and reminiscent of there being big activity occurring in your subconscious mind. And then as it rotates to Earth facing, and we can actually see this on the Earth facing side of the sun, it's like this rotation of consciousness and awareness from here up to your frontal cortex, which is where you have advanced decision making, and a lot of creativity is focused in your prefrontal cortex. So this is rotating to the limb over the next 7 days. We don't know how it's going to do during this time frame, but we can look at how it's been growing before it rotated to the far side, which is very interesting. So you'll notice this is the sunspot right here. It was on Earth facing before. This is early May, but it really wasn't anything significant. So there may have even been something in your mind in early May that was just like a little thought, but you didn't pay much attention to it. But then you notice that after it rotates out, it quickly exploded in size. And we know that this is the sunspot because we can look at the other sunspots nearby and place them all together. That one showing up right here on the far side sunspot view. Now just keep in mind, this is taken by a solar orbiter probe, so it's not exactly on the far side. It actually helps us so we can get that signal to the Earth. But we see the alignments here to 270 degrees. This is the 180 line on the sun, which is right here. The 270 line is right there. That's the limb. So that's when it starts to rotate into view. This journey takes about 7 days. So the sun is this light, this consciousness. We're having huge activity on the far side, right in line with Mercury, which represents the intellectual mind. It also represents this archetype of trade and commerce. It's also a very athletic archetype too. And we know that there's this connection between athleticism and exercise and, for example, neuroplasticity and the growth of new neural connections. It's really good for your brain to move and to walk and to exercise. So you see how all these things are connected together. And often people utilize their creativity and their gifts to offer services to the world, right? And to make a living, like an artist or just a variety of people. I do this on my own YouTube channels. I do all this research and I blend it together in unique ways and deliver that to you. So you see how all this works together. This is being activated by Mercury. It has this mercurial element built within it, and it's also occurring during the new moon, which is when you have this new cycle being birthed. Where did the new moon occur? Well, let's give that a look in Stellarium. So we'll use our true sky constellations to see where all this activity is happening in the sky. And a Mercury cazimi also, in addition to what I said, it's a rebirth of that mercurial principle. So not only is this just an activation of that, it's actually a complete new beginning for the themes represented by Mercury. And if you are Mercury dominated with your star chart, then this may resonate with you even more. So we can turn off our atmosphere here. We see that Mercury is now moving ahead. In fact, today it's a Uranus-Mercury conjunction. This only happens once every year. It's on the Pleiades. So this is a very powerful energy signature following up after this Ceres Mercury joint double Cazimi. And if we go up here, we will see the new moon just having gone past the sun, and it will now be waxing and growing and emitting more and more light. But as you can see, this new moon occurred just a little bit below the Pleiades, and then it moved over them. So it occurred in the constellation of Taurus, which represents the Earth and also represents the abundance of the Earth. And also in some aspects represents finances and resources and more. And we talked about how Mercury connects into trade and commerce. So maybe there's some new entrepreneurial idea that's percolating in your brain, but you don't even know it yet. But all this stuff is kind of coalescing into something. That's one possible expression for this. If we go forward in time, we will see that Mercury will move forward, and then we get this Sun-Uranus conjunction on the Pleiades. That is at Uranus Cazimi once every year, but this is a once in 84 year event because of Uranus being on this sacred, special, spiritual point in the sky. This is the waxing quarter moon. So now, right at this time frame, the 22nd is when that sunspot will be on the limb. Now we get this activation of Uranus. And the other thing to keep in mind with Uranus is that it's actually physically tilted on its side. Like its magnetic field, instead of it being up and down like Earth, I mean, we have a slight tilt, but in general, up and down, it's tilted to the side like a radio dish looking for signals from its environment. So the Pleiades, the biggest interstellar star cluster near us, 444 light years away, which has clearly been interacting with us spiritually for tens of thousands of years, it's perhaps able to pick up on these subtle energy signals and then convey that to us through something like this Cazimi that we have here. And of course, also the Mercury-Uranus conjunction that occurred just a couple days before, right here, today, right now, the 17th of May. If you go forward to the 31st, this is when we have our full moon, and we can look over here and see where the moon is. Okay, so I'm going to turn the atmosphere back on because we're going to have a full moon. Actually, I guess I should go the other way. The moon is going to be very bright in the sky right here. Okay, so that's the Anthelian source. That's the opposite side of the sun. And we see that it's occurring in the constellations of Scorpio and also the constellations of Ophiuchus. Well, what does that mean? You have this new beginning with this Earth archetype in Taurus, and then with Scorpio and Ophiuchus, you have this final death transformation. So in order for something new to come in, there's also probably some things that you need to let go of to make room for this. And the moon coming in as that diametric opposite of the sun is doing that release while also shining the maximum amount of solar light and energy that it can, being in that full moon position. Then afterwards, it enters into these other placements like Sagittarius. Again, this is all true sky constellations, which is where you have the galactic plane. So the center of the galaxy, because Taurus is looking out towards like the void of space. Whereas if you're looking at basically Sagittarius and this whole area, Scorpio, Ophiuchus, Sagittarius, you're looking at the center of the galaxy. Really, really exciting stuff. So clearly there's some connection here with all these planets, and the one that I haven't really mentioned that much of, so let's go back and do it, is Ceres. And so we'll go back to the Mercury Cazimi right around the 14th, and we'll have to play with this a little bit, but let us type in Ceres here and get Ceres up. It should be this one, I think. And we'll go forward a little bit in time, get Ceres above the ecliptic plane. Here is There's our favorite dwarf planet in the asteroid belt. Oh, I'll have to search for that again, right here. There it is, and we can even put a little marker on that. So this is this Mercury Cazimi just a few days ago at this point. You see it's all there, Ceres again, right in there. Well, Ceres is, in Greek myth, this is Demeter, it's the sister of Zeus, which is Jupiter. Ceres represents the archetype of the earth itself and its abundance, its blossoming. And the myth is that Ceres' daughter, Persephone, is abducted by Hades into the underworld, which is also that Scorpio-Ophiuchus principle, keep in mind. Now, what I was thinking about when I was looking into this is that we've all had this Persephone myth actually really deeply embedded into our subconscious because, and I can't say everybody, but I think it's a lot of people. The amount of programming that's been done on people throughout their lives across all the different formats of media is quite powerful, and most people aren't even cognizant of this. And there's different layers to this. And so what do I mean? Well, there are certain fears that are embedded within us and that these narratives control our life. And so we can see what may be happening around us and be upset by that, and actually through that being upset and a fear of the future, what may occur, this leads to that anger, and then it also leads to suffering, which is not being in the light. So even though you're hoping for better and maybe you don't like what you see, you're actually more engaging with the principle of darkness and evil, let's say, than that of the light and goodness. Obviously, it's very complex, but this very much represents how at times in our life, we, the innocent virgin daughter of Demeter, Ceres, so this is Persephone, was just abducted and raped against her will. And our mind has had this happen to us, unfortunately. And for some people, this may be a lot to process. And one thing that can stop that processing is the recognition of that, because it can be so intense. So instead, it's easier to have this like focus and mission of, let's say, hate than it is to recognize this pain and wound and trauma that was inflicted upon you. So Ceres here is speaking to this myth, but now there's this activation of consciousness to this idea that this may have happened because we've seen this incredible activity on the far side of the sun with these sunspots. And then as we go into the full moon, these hidden secrets will be fully brought into light by that lunar principle. And then at that time, if we go forward to the 31st of May, we see that we have this Ceres, Uranus, Pleiades alignment. So there's this new spiritual energy coming in, blossoming up in perhaps your mind, your body, your spirit. It just really may be speaking to you deeply. And Uranus, this Promethean, liberating, genius archetypal energy, is there to support you through this, perhaps give you some incredible things to work on, some creative inspirations. So instead of dwelling on these things that we're upset about and maybe even hateful of, it's like, okay, yeah, we get it. We may not like that and it's unfortunate, but let's instead put our focus towards this thing that can blossom and that can bear fruit in abundance. And the eventual ending of the myth of Persephone is that Demeter and Zeus and Hades and Persephone all basically have a powwow, and it's like, hey, we can't have Persephone in the underworld the whole time against her will, hating it. There needs to be a balance. And so she's able to return to the earth for 6 months every year, and then there's abundance and harvest, and everyone's happy. And then she goes to the underworld for the other 6 months because you actually kind of started to like the underworld, this yin principle, and that is when you have fall and winter. So that's the idea there. So we go through these natural cycles. We have one cycle coming to a close, and you need to make room for that. Just like let some of this stuff out, process as needed to let new genius frequencies and energies come in. And as this is happening, not just for you, but for millions of people across the planet, it's going to be a complete shift. Mindset, consciousness, spiritual, and everything. And this is a long cycle going forward. There's even a longer lunar cycle here. It's not just this Taurus new moon to Scorpio Ophiuchus full moon, again, true sky constellations. We can also look at it from the Taurus new moon to Taurus full moon lunar cycle. And that Taurus full moon will be in the fall. And because this was a Mercury cazimi, that's also a new beginning. A Ceres cazimi, a new beginning. A Uranus cazimi, a new beginning. And the Uranus and Ceres cazimis only occur about once every year, right? It's once every year. So this is also speaking to a 1 year time horizon. So we have a 2-week time horizon for this. We have a 6-month time horizon. We also have a 1 year time horizon. What may result from all this? Should this blossom within your mind, your fascia, your spirit, whatever, beautifully, it may have profound transformative effects and results looking back in hindsight a year from now. And that's really exciting. Now, the other factor too is that sunspot will be Earth center and direct should it still be around. And at this size, it's very likely to, right with that full moon, when we already have that heightened energy point naturally with the lunar cycle. So if we do get big solar flares, and that's ionizing the upper atmosphere, charging the global electric circuit, some geomagnetic storms perhaps, storms launch out, they hit the Earth, that also could potentially further catalyze this profound shift that is occurring. So this is, you can see the beautiful elegance of this cycle that's just rapidly developed in time. And let's look at the growth of a similar sunspot back in 2024, in fact, in the same month. This is sunspot 3664. It gave us the strongest solar storm impact and geomagnetic storm of this solar cycle 25. You see that there's been many periods of growth with this sunspot as it rotated across Earth facing. So just because the sunspot right now on the far side is big does not mean it can't actually get larger. They can be a little fickle, these sunspots. But we see that it was already big, and then we see like 2 more big pulses of activity with the sunspot. There's the first one, and then you really see almost how it really becomes dense right there. So we very well could be looking at a big solar event. I mean, it's a possibility. It's certainly a heightened probability in 2 weeks' time with the full moon. So we have a new critical time window right around then. And this is also when we have not only this Ceres Uranus Earth alignment, we also have a Mercury Venus Saturn alignment. So this could be speaking to how the masculine and feminine archetypes are going to be structured together in a new way. Saturn being the structuring element. It's also one of letting things go, like what doesn't serve needs to go in order to bring new things in. So how can you find balance between your masculine and your feminine so they actually can form that unified whole? That's probably an important component to work on to make this really happen, for this shift to occur. And the other thing to keep in mind too is that the planet Mars will be in its home constellation of Aries during this time frame for this full moon, indicating that this martial energy will be there supporting you to really get something to happen. That big bang, just make it happen. You are supported with that, with this placement of Mars in domicile, and you can probably not only have the energy to just self-initiate, but to keep it going for a while such that it takes on a life of its own and now keeps itself going. That's kind of how these projects work. Anyone that's engaged in them knows that you kind of need to keep it going for a little bit, and then it's like a ever shining candle. It really just kind of keeps itself going because you're passionate about it, you love doing it, etc. So many things are supporting this genius shift that's coming in right now. And I'm so excited to see how this is going to result, not only with the space weather, just like the mundane space weather, but B, how it's going to manifest in millions around the world. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I hope you appreciated this video. I've been your host, Stefan Burns, geologist, geophysicist, space weather guy, your cosmic bro, here to help you understand what is happening energetically here on Earth with the sun, interstellar environment, the cosmos, consciousness, and more. I release videos almost daily. So if you want to stay up to date, then please subscribe. Smash that thumbs up button to help the channel grow. Also, just a quick aside, we had our first Conscious Connections event in person in San Diego yesterday. It was incredible. We had about 130 to 150 people all together vibing from 2 to midnight, went way overboard with the bonfire. So much fun. We're hoping to do many more in-person events, not only in the nearby area of California, Arizona, etc., but all across the United States and perhaps even the world. So more info on that as it comes out, but everyone loved this event. It was so awesome. I'm really excited to bring more events like this to other parts of the world and to see how we can further facilitate these incredible shifts in consciousness and awareness that are unfolding right now at this moment in time. So thank you all so much. Wishing each and every single one of you well. Have a great week ahead, and I'll see you all in the next video.